For the people that are watching, could you give us a bit of feedback? You're a real life pro drifter. So I did spoke with you a bit. So I think now it's mainly that you should be talking and I'll be just asking some questions. I think the best is the people to get the perspective of a real life drifter. Wanted to ask you, could you give me some background of yourself? And the first question would be like, can you share, who you are and what you've achieved, and then
Yeah.
we'll jump into your journey because this was very interesting. I want people to hear this. This was extremely interesting for me, how you started sim and so on, and I'll lay out some questions for you.
Yeah, yeah. So my name's Charlie Hulme. I am 32 from the UK. I've been into drifting for 16 years now, maybe. And I originally started out 16 years ago on the sim. I had a Logitech G25. I was 16 at the time, and I learned how to. Well, I taught myself how to drive and how to drift on an old game called Live for Speed. We don't really use it much anymore, but it's still a really good game. And I got my first real life drift car in 2012, so 3 years or so, 2 or 3 years after I started sim drifting. Um, yeah, I got a BMW 36, went drifting in it straight away, and within the first lap or two, like I was linking the full track in drift, like even though I'd never drifted before in real life. And then after that, I got an MX5, and eventually in 2014, I got an S13 with a CA. It was very very box standard. I drove it around all year doing loads of stuff. Um, Competed. Yeah, and that was that. And then I had a couple of years out. I got a family and house and stuff like that, so that took up a lot of time. And then 2019, I got back into drifting properly again, competitively. I got another S13, built it up. We had an SR20, wrote like full welding roll cage and stuff. Yeah, it was quite nice. And ended up doing a few competitions here and there. I one weekend it was like a double header, so I was in the pro-am class, and I managed to qualify first and win the event on the Saturday, which meant I could then drive on the Sunday with like the pros, and I managed to qualify second and finish second on the Sunday as well, against a lot higher caliber of driver and car. I then moved up to the British Drift Championship the weekend after, and I ended up finishing fourth, I think, and got to got to drive with the pros of UK drifting and such, like the best of the best, in like a stock SR20 S13, like 300 horsepower max, and I qualified fifth, and then knocked myself out in the battles because I made a mistake. But yeah, like so, like yeah, I think I'm blabbering a bit, yeah, but like I've driven a lot of competitive events since 2019, and I've probably podiumed numerous times. I've won numerous events here, there, and everywhere. I've been to Ireland. I've driven in Ireland with like I battled Conor Shanahan. I mean, it wasn't. He beat me, but I didn't let him walk all over me. Like it was a fair battle, and I had a slight straighten, and that's why I lost, I think. But other than that, yeah, like I've driven a lot, and then I've come back to sim drifting this past year now, and I've got a direct drive wheel and stuff, and it's come on a lot now. Like, yeah, it's yeah. I hope that sort of answered your question a
Yeah,
bit.
welcome back to the sim. I'm glad to see more people on, especially like this is very fun. In a nutshell, pretty much you're a top level of like the people from UK on real life
Yeah,
drifting competitions. So uh, thanks for
yeah,
answering
yes,
this. Well,
yeah,
it's very valuable that you went from G25, was it right?
yeah, yeah.
In
So yeah, I've had everything. I've had a G25, G27, G29, the T300, and now I've got an Alpha Sim Magic Alpha Mini. Um, yeah,
I had a question for later, but regarding wheelbases, but and I'll keep it there. And I'll ask you a bit later about wheelbases. I'm very interested in your opinion. How would you like classify them? So like you have a gear driven, you have belt driven, you have now direct drive. I think this would be very very interesting. First, I want to ask
yeah,
you about some direct feedback. because you've driven in real life, you know how it is, and you probably saw some of my content, and this matters a lot to me, honestly. So,
Yeah.
what is your feedback as a professional driver, a professional drifter, of course? What do you think of my content, and does it actually reflect, real life drifting? Does it translate? Obviously, there are things, my opinion, but in general.
Yeah. So I came across your videos on YouTube just by chance. Like one night I was just scrolling through YouTube and I saw one of your videos. You were with, I don't know who you were with, but you were in E30s on the drift circuit and you were just doing like figure of eights in tandem. And it was like, it was so nice to watch and hear how you coach and like how you're talking people through what they need to do and just seeing like the pair of you just like go around in tandem um and it was like a good teaching moment and I just thought this is good. Like there's not many people that do this sort of stuff, and or at least if they do it, they don't post it. Whereas you're posting it for other people to learn from, and I think there's a lot of gatekeeping within the drifting community, and I don't think there needs to be because, like, why wouldn't you want to learn how to drift? So yeah, um, yeah, like I just find what you're doing really good, and the way that you go about your videos is very good. You're very good at explaining stuff and giving examples as well. Um, yeah, I might have gone off topic a bit, but yeah, that's what I think of what you're doing and my opinion on it.
There's no problem going off topic. My second question to you is: do you see any misconceptions in my sim drifting content that you think I should address? Like, have you watched most of the videos, or do you think there's anything that I got wrong that I should address?
I've probably watched probably not all of them. I'll be honest. I've probably watched half of them, maybe, or a good portion at least, to have an opinion.
Mm.
And from what I've seen, what you're teaching is correct. Like, there's nothing that you've said, and I've sort of pulled a face out or thought, that's a bit weird. What you're actually teaching is very, very appropriate for the level of driver that you are teaching. Um, there's probably stuff that you could go more advanced with, but the you're teaching people how to drift essentially and how to get to the next step. And I think what you're teaching is very, very good, very in depth, and very just appropriate for the skill level. I wouldn't say any of it's incorrect coming from a real life because I actually started my drifting on the sim probably 15 years ago now. So
Mhm.
I've been on the sim a long time, and I transitioned from sim to real life, and it was like I was self taught. Nobody taught me, but what you are teaching is something that I would probably recommend to a lot of people that if they are wanting to get into drifting, follow your videos or come and speak to you about getting coaching lessons.
Would you recommend this for real life drifting? Somebody maybe to get at least the perspective, or do you think this is even good for real life drifting? I know there's like obviously a difference, like breaching the gap
Yeah,
between sim and real life, but I've seen a couple
yeah,
of people sending messages in in the Discord. Even there was one girl that was drifting in real life, learning doing donuts, and was watching my videos, and I was like impressed
yeah.
because I mainly focus on the sim and. Do you think it's good for somebody that wants to start in real life? Do you think they will help him?
Yeah, I think it could potentially help somebody because people that can drift in real life come to the sim and think I can drift, so I can just drift on a sim, and they don't think, well, I might have to start again because it's not it's nowhere near this. Well, no, I can't say it's nowhere near because it is. Like if you learn how to drift on a sim and then you go to real life, you will find real life drifting a lot easier because you have more sensors, you've got more feedback coming from the car. But going from a real life to the sim is hard because you're losing sensors. Like you're losing that feeling of in your butt where like the car slides out and you can feel it moving like in your body. So
But
I think if someone from real life came to you, they probably could learn a lot because you can teach them how to read the feedback from the wheel to understand what's going on, rather than them having to try and predict it. They can sort of learn from you how to take in the feedback that the wheel's giving them to make them understand how drifting works, rather than relying on something that they're not getting, i.e., the feedback from the body.
Yeah, I'll give you my perspective how I see this, and I want you to confirm if you think the same. So, how I see it from all the studies, all the information that I found on the internet, because I'm very geeky about this, very nerdy. I dig a lot because I want to make sure that what I'm teaching is, correct. And what I found out is when people, there's a lot of videos, oh, sim is garbage and this, that, from people that drift in real life. And then, okay, I start to put two and two together. What happens? People going from sim to real life, exactly as you said, they get way more information. Now they have the G forces, they could feel the car slip on the rear, like they could recall everything rather than using their eyes and the force feedback of the wheel to get this information. Now they could get this information through the body as well. And this is
Yep,
very empowering. And how I saw it is like from sim to real life, it's way easier because you gain information. From real life to sim is very hard because you lose
yep,
information.
100%. Yep,
And I believe people coming from real life to sim, the hardest part is that okay, now you've lost. It's almost like you've lost a pair of eyes.
yeah,
You can't see anymore of this, and now you one organ less. So what happens is they need to adapt to get information with their eyes from the monitor on what they feel through their hands, and also obviously listening to the engine from the in-game.
yes, yep. Listen, yeah, taking the sounds rather than the feel.
But
Yep,
it's very
100%.
it's very limiting unless I think the best mimicking of real life is probably a motion rig, but I'm not willing to sell my liver for one.
Yeah, yeah. I do wonder if there's a good enough motion rig out there that like a real life drifter who's never done sim drifting before could maybe jump into it. With like VR maybe or something like that.
Yes. I'm curious, what sparked your interest? Like, how did you get started? Was it the sim? Was it like, virtually? Or was it like maybe you saw cars? A lot of kids are exposed to events. What got you into drifting itself? Was it virtually?
So I've been asked this a few times, and honestly, I can't remember. It could well have been Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and I was like mesmerized just by this drifting on TV. Because at the time I would have been like 13, 14, and I saw Fast and Furious, and I was like, "Wow, look at this!" And then, so do you know you will have heard of Driftmasters? Yeah,
Yes,
DMEC.
yes.
Yeah. So I ended up in 2009. I went to JDM All Stars, which is what Driftmasters used to be back in the day. Like before it got like before it went all over Europe, it used to call JDM All Stars. And I went to one of their events in Manchester, which is about an hour from me. It was in a car park, and Luke Fink was there, um, amongst a few other people, and that's what sort of got me hooked. I went to the event in person in 2009, and I was stood there, and I was like, "This is crazy." And I think from then, that's when I got a G25 and just taught myself how to drift. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Uh,
what got me into drifting, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the challenges specifically that I did on the Tokyo Drift track that we have here in Sim is like I'm inspired from Tokyo Drift. I just every time I watch it, I need to go and like beat my old previous challenge and make it even harder. This is how I started these Mission Impossible challenges. My next question is like, since you went to real life and you drifted a lot, obviously you know there's gonna be a lot of struggles. So, what are probably the biggest challenges, or like how you deal with challenges? What challenges did you face when you first started drifting? How did you overcome them? I think this is a short but like very interesting question.
In in real life, I think the biggest challenge, and I mean, probably for most people, is money. It's like trying to afford it. Because at the time when I got my first drift car, I will have been. Oh, wait, I'm working out. 18 maybe. And I wanted to drift just so badly. I was getting a bit bored of the sim. There wasn't a lot going on, and I never ever thought about competing. Like, I don't think I was at that level. Um, but I think that sort of drifting forced me to get a decent paying job. And that's what, like, yeah. I got a very basic E36, so I taught myself a lot of mechanical skills. Um, yeah, I'd probably say the biggest part is just money. But wanting to drift made me like get a better job and work hard so I can pay for drifting. So I guess in a way it sort of set me up quite good for other stuff.
I
um,
see.
yeah.
So this comes it changes to the next question that I have is what is the if you can share a bit of like insight, obviously maybe either over the years or nowadays, what is the maintenance cost of a drift car in terms of like fuel, tires, repair costs? How many sets of tires do you run in, in general per lap? Like, I know the prices will be crazy now, but I just want to hear it from your side.
So I run on my drift car I've got at the moment. I run 265 semi slicks. That's what we use in the competitions over here. So that's what I run on my car all the time. I run Kenda KR20As, which is a semi slick, and they're not the grippiest tire out there, but they last ages and they're very 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 consistent. So I mean, I probably go to a drift day and I might take 6 pairs. No, not 6 pairs. Sorry, six tires in total, so 3 pairs, and they'll last me a full day of drifting. Just because they last so well. And on drift days, I tend to drive very 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 hard. Like, I'm very much like, yeah, I'm there to practice driving better. I'm not just there to have fun. So I will drive to the best. To the best, I'll drive as hard as I can. And I'll probably say a normal drift day. So an entry fee over here can be anywhere from £80 to £150 for a drift day, and then fuel on top. I might use a full tank and then maybe one or two jerry cans, 20-litre jerry cans, and a full tank for me is 32 litres because I've got a fuel cell. So that could be 100, £120 just in fuel as well. Tyres are around 60, £70 each. So you're talking £120 for a pair. So that's £360 for, I think my maths is right, for 3 pairs. And then just fuel to get there and back in the, because I've got a 4x4 that I tow with, so then I've got a trailer. So again, that could be anywhere from £50 to £100 in fuel, £200 in fuel. So a total day, you're talking like maybe six, seven, £800 just for a practice day. I am quite lucky in the sense that I have had Kenda on board sponsoring me tyres for the past couple of years, which has saved a lot and helped a lot with costs of driving, especially because I don't have the best paying job, but it's enough to help me sustain what I need to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that answers your question.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So very good. So pretty much, as long as you can land a sponsor, it will help you a lot to sustain just the cost itself. It seems like the kind of how I predicted it. I believe like the tires are half of the expense. Is that
Yeah.
unless obviously unless there's like some crashes or things. What are one side question for me? What are the main components of the car that usually start to wear down, wear and tear? Like what is the usual thing that you would go to repair on the car?
Um, I mean, big things. Last year, not last year because we're 25 now. 2023, I went through 3 SR20s engines, which quite
Oh,
costly.
that's a
That
lot.
Yeah, I think that was about 2 or 3 grand each time. But that's because I'm not the best mechanic and I don't have all the tools. So like I try and make do with what I've got. When in reality I probably shouldn't, and I think that's sometimes my downfall. Is I try and do things that I'm not capable of maybe, and then that sort of backfires on me. Um, But yeah,
Do you think this is the way? I mean, yes, you do try to push out of the comfort zone and try to do something new that you're not capable of. But do you think with more time you practice and okay, this didn't work, and you try to dig a bit more and try to do it again? Don't you think that you're building like this specific skill a bit better? Like,
yeah. Oh, if you compare to when I first started drifting, I had no mechanical knowledge. Whereas now, I will happily swap an engine by myself. I can do most of that by myself. Um, yeah, it's good to do it. It's good to do it. I wouldn't say don't do it. Just try it. Just the best thing I would say is just try and keep things simple. A lot of people get into drifting and they see all the pro drifters with like the best stuff, and they're like, I need that, and you don't. Like, just keep it simple. Start off really, really, really basic. Like, you want a bucket seat and some coilovers and a welder diff. That's it. That's all you need. You don't even need a hydro. Like, to learn to drift, you don't need a handbrake. Like, you can. I learned without a handbrake. I had an MX-5, and the handbrake in them is terrible. Um, but yeah, like a lot of people just seem to overbuild the cars, and I think I probably am guilty of that recently. Just trying to keep up, especially with competing at like the top level. Just trying to keep up with everyone can be tough, and it does make you sort of rush away with yourself. But yeah, just try and keep it simple is the best thing I could say probably. Um, yeah.
I see. Yeah, I think it goes to everything. This is what I tell people, for example, when I'm coaching them or when they ask me questions. Doesn't matter if it's in Drift Talk channel in the Discord server or when I'm coaching them. Is I tell them, if you once you get comfortable with something, that means you've learned it. There's not much there to learn. So you gotta push out of the comfort zone. Keep going with something that you don't like, something that's harder. Like if you don't like it, mostly is because it's something new and you have to push through. Like, okay, you've beat the donut. Next is like figure eight. Then it's the dive loop that I've made. Then it's the big third gear layout. Then it's like now we're going to tracks. Now or we are applying now we're learning the brake pedal, how to use it with the gas together on all these layouts, then the clutch, and then we go to the tracks and then all this stuff. And every time you add something new, it's like you get out of the comfort zone, if this makes
Yeah.
sense. So that's how
Yeah.
I see it. And if you don't get out of the comfort zone, how are you supposed to learn and push through these like barriers that you have in
Yeah,
front
yeah,
of you?
100%. I see people that have been drifting for years and years and years, because they don't push themselves and try new things, they still drifting the same way years later because they all like and I think this is probably like it might just be me or my mindset, but like I want to push my driving as much as I can every time I go out. Um, and like if I'm going to a drift day, if I'm struggling with something, I will focus on that one thing all day until I've nailed it. Like if it's an entry at a specific track or whatever, um, and like I will keep pushing myself past the limit, and then sort of rein it back a bit until I've got it. And whereas some people will just happily go to a drift day and just drift all day, like basic, like not pushing, not trying to go as fast as they can. They're just there to drift and have fun, and that's fine. But I think if you really want to get the most out of what you're doing, is definitely just try and push yourself every time you go and drive, and make the most of the time that you are actually driving.
I see this, and I want you to confirm if I'm correct. I see this as this happens in my coachings as well. So as I told you, I'm very perfectionistic in some regards, and I understand that I probably bored a lot of people. I'm trying to change up a bit. You know, you got teaching and driving is completely different skills, but I'm not gonna go into this. Uh, what I think is happening is that some people just go out there to have fun, while some other people go out to push the best version of themselves and learn. Okay, I'm gonna beat this corner. Once you beat it, now the next corner is the next challenge. You gotta go again and again and again and again until you like nail each like small detail. It's like a puzzle for you. The track is like a puzzle and you want to lay every
Yeah,
piece perfectly, while other people they're like just throw in the puzzle, let's mix it up. Like they want to have fun, and there's nothing wrong with this, of course. But if you don't show understand, like just sometimes what I face is that people that want to have fun, they don't understand the other people that are really pushing to be their best version of themselves. Like, okay, you want to show up and be in the best shape, if this makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I guess you can compare it to the gym, can't you? So there's some people that go to the gym just to maintain a a healthy physical body. There's some people that go to the gym that want to push themselves as far as they can, and I think that's maybe part of it.
Exactly. And
Um,
the funny
yeah,
thing is that I don't know why I watch a lot of all kinds, MMA, mixed martial arts, and all kinds of other sports, and I don't know why I have this kind of spread out interest, but I watch all kinds of coachings and things of different sports, and like then I always find something I can relate to. Wait, I can use this for coaching in drifting. I can use this, and it's like the analogy just relates. So it's like you're here to have fun or you want to be the best and like best version of yourself and push yourself. And it really did works for every sport. And a lot of the things that people are coaching can translate to other sports with just specific terms and words obviously swapped out. One thing that I can tell you, for example, I want to hear what you think about is one of the things I'm trying to be very creative when I'm teaching people. One of the things that I like to do is I would ask the people, a bit of a background. What did they do? Do they do any sports? For example, one of the fellows Crusader that I was teaching, he was a swim teacher. So
all right.
what I used, like here's the interesting part. What I think is here's my thought process, Charlie. Since he was a swim teacher, he knows how to keep himself afloat above the water, right?
Yep.
So if you think drifting and swimming, when you're drifting, you're kind of keeping the car afloat in maintaining the drift, holding the drift. So he knows how to tread water with his legs to keep himself afloat and use his hands. So this is synchronizing your footwork with your handwork. So it's
Yes.
literally the same in drifting. So I told him, instead of telling him maintain the drift and this, that, just use the gas, the throttle, to tread the water. You need to keep the car afloat. You're treading and you're modulating. And that's how you're gonna
Yeah.
keep yourself afloat. And the rest is just guiding a little bit the car with the steering wheel. Tell the car where to go, a little bit left, and then we counter steer to the right to control and gain the angle. And then obviously he plays with the weight and the grip and the rotation with the pedal. And what do you think? Do you think this is an interesting way of
Yeah.
like?
No. Yeah. It's all hand-eye coordination, isn't it? And it's that's part of it. But yeah, I like that. That's a good way to put it. Especially trying to relate it to someone who knows how to do something already. Trying to relate it so that they can sort of make sense of it.
A
I
lot
like
of
that. Yeah.
exactly, because how I see it, a lot of times it's very hard to explain things. You have to find the right words so they can click it. And I'm like,
Yep.
what if you use something that the person understands already and he
Yep.
can relate and translate it? Oh, is it like this? Yeah, it is. Just think of your legs as the pedal and think of your hands as the wheel. And it's like I'm trying to translate and bridge the gap, if this makes sense. So breaching the gap. And these are some of the things. Now I'm gonna ask you about competition questions, and we're gonna go through them quickly. So, can you describe me a particular challenging race and how you adapted your strategy during the event? So, pretty much, what I'm asking you is, can you recall some of the challenging moments or like very hard battles that you had, and like how did you analyze the run? Okay, maybe on your chase you were chasing first and like you noticed the guys doing a certain thing, or during the other battles you noticed him do a certain thing. Like how did you prepare yourself? Did you had any strategies for certain situations that you had the tough moments?
Um. I'm not. No, not really. So my missus is my spotter. She's been with me. I've been with her for almost 10 years now, and throughout that, she's been there for most of my competitive career. And she's very good at spotting. Like I would recommend her to anybody if they wanted a spotter. She's very harsh, but she knows what she's talking about. Um, and she's quite good at telling me like if I'm leading, then what the chase car's doing behind me, how hard I need to go in the chase. The one thing I've struggled with in real life a lot is walls, like drifting with walls. Um, and I think it's something I've only really got comfortable with maybe the past year. I think the first event that I probably say I struggled is BDC when it was at NEC, like a motor show, and it was in a big car park, and they had lots of walls. And it was the first time drifting in like a pro event, and there was just walls everywhere, and I was really, really, really scared because I've never drifted with walls. I've never had to go near them. It's quite daunting. Um, and I think that's one of the steps where you have to push yourself, and you've got to sort of get close to the walls, but not close enough to hit it. So you keep working out of it. So you would initiate at a certain point, and if you didn't hit the wall, you'd be like, right, okay, so I can probably initiate a bit later, um, and get a bit closer. And I think that's partly where Amy would come in, and she'd be like, right, you were on the wall then, so don't go any later than that. Like, and it's just trying to figure out and work out how big your car is and how close you can get to the walls. Because my car as well is all stock metal, so like it's not like the Driftmasters cars where you see them fold in when they get near walls because it's just fiberglass. Mine's metal, so when I hit a wall, it's going to hit it and push me into the wall. Like, so yeah, I'd probably say again that goes back to our conversation about pushing yourself, because if you didn't get close to the walls, you're not going to win anything. Like, because all the top guys are getting close to the walls. Yeah, so I think maybe that's something I've struggled with over the years. Is comforting of not the comfort, the confidence to get close and know I'm near the wall without hitting it, sort of thing.
I see. And one of the ways that I tell people, at least in the sim, how I teach them is like initiate early, and doesn't matter if you go in the middle of the road and you're very far. Next
Yep,
time a little bit later, and you
yep,
get a little bit closer. Look at your skid marks. Get a little bit closer and a little bit
yep,
closer and a little bit closer, because what they do is they try to dive it in, and they're like, "Oh crap, I'm very fast," and they like panic, and they start to like turn sharp and handbrake, all kinds of things. It's like the fear factor comes in, especially in real life. You really know how much your car is worth for you, and you don't want to crash it.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
and I
Um,
believe this is the biggest fear maybe that you had. Like, if I crash, I think I'm
yeah,
done. I'm done with the event. Like, what were you gonna
yeah,
do?
100%.
Is
Yeah, 100%. Yep, yeah, that's it. But yeah, I mean, from what you've just said, then that's the exact same approach that I take. So it's good that you're teaching people that already. And
very
that's
slowly. There's a, if you know, on the drift track, where's the when you exit, there's a wall.
yeah,
So
yeah,
on the
yeah,
figure eight, this wall that we're driving, that's
yeah, yeah. I've
the
seen it. Yeah,
exact same wall that I like to start with people with just a normal car. You don't have to go with VDC cars or ESDA cars, but you want to start with these basic cars and get a little bit closer, a little bit. And I always tell them just, bro, like a few centimeter, like like even less than half a meter, just a little bit, and work yourself. A little bit more gas, a little bit more gas, a little bit more gas, and get closer and closer and closer. So you
yep,
learn how to just transfer your weight and use only gas. And later when we use brake, it's going to be even easier for them because they will understand how to do it. But it
yeah,
work even for me when I go and do some sort of challenges, I find it like I'm like, if I toss the car here, I don't know if I'll like maybe the inertia will get me or hit on the wall, maybe I was too fast. And I always follow this rule that I told others. Start a little bit slow, push a little bit, push a little bit, push a little bit, and at least in the sim we can afford to hit. I think that's
yes,
so you
yeah.
learn when
That's a
you
benefit.
hit, at least you know, okay, that this is too much, is too much.
Yeah,
Question: how do you handle high pressure situations during competitions?
in real life,
Yes.
I don't really, I don't struggle. This is something that's really, really annoying me at the moment. Is in real life, I don't struggle with nerves. I just drive. Like, I get in the car and I drive. I don't struggle with nerves. I don't struggle with anything like that. But I've done three, no, four sim competitions now. And on the sim, I haven't qualified once, because nerves just absolutely destroy me. But in real life, I don't struggle with them at all. Like, I have no nerves. I can just get in the car. I mean, I probably do have nerves, but I think when adrenaline kicks in, it just gets rid of them. And I'm there to drive. I enjoy driving. I love it. Whereas on the sim, I don't know. Something just I'm guessing because on the sim you don't have any adrenaline. Like there's no, you're not sat in a car that's shaking when you rev it or whatever. Like you're not. There's no other noise around you. You're just on your own. And I think part of that is, yeah, I think that's why. But yeah, like I'd say I'm pretty cool headed. Like I don't get worried if I'm there to battle in the final. I'll still go and I'll just drive the best I can. Um, I take it one battle at a time, so I don't worry about what's coming up next. I'm like I'm very in the moment. So if I'm battling someone now, that's it. That's my focus. You just battle them and then move on from there.
Mm.
And yeah, like yeah, that's just my bug at the moment is for some reason I'm rubbish on the sim. Like I can drive good when I'm not competing, but as soon as it comes to qualifying and like I'm shaking almost with nerves. It's that bad. But in real life, I get none of it.
I see. Well, how I see it is, I think in the sim itself, when you go to drive, it's like it has to be something that's like maybe a specific like placement or podium, something that's like very important, and maybe then like the adrenaline can get the best of you and stuff. But I believe when you've drove so much in real life, maybe it's just you're so used to getting the car's like shaking, it's ready, and when you go to the sim, it's like you don't have the same feeling that gets you in the
Yeah,
zone. Maybe this is like because I believe everybody has his own trigger that gets him in the zone. For you, might be like sitting in the car and waiting on the line and like the car shaking, your senses are like maxed out. You hear the engine, you hear the other guy, you look at the guy to give you the signal. I think this is what maybe gives you the trigger. But when you're in the sim, it's like you can't get there. Like
yeah.
the trigger is not there. What do you think of this?
I, I think another part of the sim is it's like in real life the qualifying the bar isn't that high. Like most events, you can qualify with an 80 plus. Um, because in real life it's a lot, there's a lot more factors to take into driving, like whereas in the sim almost all of the top drivers that qualify are like robots, man. Like they will do the same lap after lap after lap, and they can put 1,000 hours into a track before you even start qualifying. um and that's crazy. Like you don't get that in real life. In real life you might get 4 laps before you have to qualify on a track you've never driven before. So it's there's a lot to take into the difference in driver level as well, and I think that might put a bit of pressure on as well, because it's like that if you don't do a perfect lap, you're not going to qualify. Um, and yeah, I think that might add to it when it comes to the pressure side of things.
That's absolutely correct. They have the opportunity to drive 1,000 kilometers if they want on a track, and
Yep.
it's wild, and it goes lap after lap after lap until they completely just become a robot. And like you could do this out of the blue, like you wake up and you could do this track
Yeah.
like no problem. While in real life, it's just the limitation is there, and you cannot do that. And you're used to this way, so this comes again when you come from real life, when you're used to one way of preparation versus these guys that like might even dedicate their whole day, especially if they don't have job, they don't work, and you have a family, you need to take care of the family, of other things, and you might not
Oh,
have the time.
100%.
So it's
Yeah.
definitely time plus limitation that really comes into the main problems, I believe, when you're trying
Yeah.
to compete with the guys that are predominantly on sim.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was speaking to a VDC driver last night actually, and they said that before the last round of competition in VDC, they had 1,000 kilometers on the track before qualifying, and like that's crazy. Like the amount of seat time is wild for something like that.
Now, before I go to the next question, I want to ask you something. So, when I've
Yeah,
done competitions, one thing that I think people don't know about, I like to, I'm curious to see what you think about it, because I'll probably do a video on this. I like to classify drifters. So, there's drifters that love toge. They love just mountains, tandems, all kinds of these things. There's drifters like me that like gymkhana. I like to push something that's extremely hard. Maybe not everybody can do something like this, like challenges and things. So there's the people that love challenges, something very hard on a different spectrum, on different, type. Maybe it could be endurance drifting, because there's like a lot of challenges they've done like 10, 15 minutes non-stop. Like you gotta just keep drifting and so on. While the
Yep.
competition tracks, and there's the competition drifters, which, you'll do 15, 30, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, lap over tracks. And that's, you got 30 seconds and that's it, but you got to give your best. And same with the with other part, the gymkhana drifters. You have something extremely hard, but you got to go for a very long period of time on it. In a sense, I'd say, for me, what I found out, the most boring part of competitions is just sitting and rotting in the goddamn pits waiting for your turn.
Ah,
This,
yep.
for me, this is extremely obnoxious. I just can't take it, bro. I have ADHD. I'm getting pissed. This is annoying me, and I just need to go and drive. I think. What is your take on this? Like, how do you find it
So,
just sitting and dying in the pits there?
I mean, to be fair, in sim drifting, it's not that bad. Um, there was so I've done DCGP so far, like Drift Corner Grand Prix, and you get called in groups of like 10 for qualifying. So you don't like there's 160 people that sign up for Drift DCGP. Um, so it's not that bad compared to real life where you can be sat for 2 hours waiting for qualifying because you've got to get in line and wait your turn, etc., etc. Whereas in DCGP, you get called up and you might have to wait 5 minutes. Um, so honestly, I don't mind it. Um, Especially because I come from sim drifting. But my preference though, so I like a lot of Japanese style drifting. So I don't like tracks like Brooklyn Park.
Yes.
I don't like tracks like that where it's just drifting from side to side. I prefer something that's got a bit of a straight where you straighten out and you have to build a bit of speed and throw like a pretty wild entry to make a corner, like Bihoku, for instance. That's one of
Yeah.
my favourites. And I can get frustrated easily with people that just happily drift like just around Brooklyn Park all day and like enjoy it because I get nothing out of that. Like I don't know how people can. But then that's the difference in someone who wants to push the driving to someone who just happy drifting.
Yeah.
Um,
That.
yeah. So yeah, for me, yeah. Go on, carry on. I'm probably blabbering
Uh,
now.
no, for me, how I see it, and obviously this is not this interview is not for me, but how I see it is really myself personally. If I don't do challenges, I just can't. I'm losing my passion, and eventually I will stop driving. It gets
Yep.
extremely boring. I try. Yes, the competitions are very fun. The com driving these high horsepower cars, at best, I might have a day where I'm great. I'm definitely not, that super good or the best and stuff. I can definitely, be great at sometimes, very good. But if I have to say there's like a place where I'm great, is where my passion leads me, and that's challenges. So this is what I usually tell people when they come for me for coaching. I ask them, what do you love and what do you want to do, because I know they will put their best there. So I know how to. For me, it's like think of a tree with multiple branches. The tree starts in and then it starts to split. Okay, you like to do competition drifting, so okay, so I teach one of the kids to go competition drifting. After we pass the whole curriculum of the program, like all the exercises to make sure that his techniques are on point. Then we went on to I put him onto this branch and this road to competition drifting. If he said, okay, I want to do togeys and challenges and this type of hard stuff, then I'll put him on the other things. And this is how I believe there's like a big, like, I don't, for me, it's very sad that people see, in order for you to be incredibly good drifter, whatever, you have to be a competition drifter. There's some, like, look at Ken Block, look at Jim Gymkhana, look at all these feats that he did, like, these
Yeah.
challenges. Like, you could be like, if he was a rally driver, went to do all kinds of like feats that are amazing, such great videos and stuff. These challenges are extremely hard, so it's about where your passion leads you. And I think there are categories of drifters. Like, I really
Oh,
enjoy these.
100%. I know. I know a few real life drifters that on a practice day can be the best there, and they're so good. Like, and I've said to them like, why don't you compete? Like, you do so well in competition, and they just say nerves. Like, they've done a round of competition, and nerves just they don't enjoy it, and like. And I get that, and there's a lot. There's a few drivers in the UK that I rate higher than a lot of competition drivers, because I've seen them driving, and yeah, it's not a competition, but I know their skill level, and if nerves weren't a factor, they'd be better than most of the drivers in the UK. Um,
So
but
yeah,
yeah,
so
I know what you mean about getting the recognition for being good is only comes from competition, unless you're very good at social media and you can sort of push content from a practice day.
yeah, exactly. It comes mainly your notice for competition days and stuff. I'm definitely this type of a guy that nerves will get onto you. And another thing that I notice is when I, let's say, do something very hard, like a very for example, I like to go and push myself and beat older challenges. So I put like the Tokyo Drift that we just spoke. So I did this Mission Impossible video. At the end, because I have the cameras on and I know it's like it's when you put the cameras on, it's like somebody's watching you. This is what people don't understand. The camera pressure
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
real. Camera
yeah,
pressure is
yeah,
very real and it's very bad in some regard. When I saw that I did this like crazy run and I'm about to beat my old run, beat myself, just the pressure got the best of me. I started top tapping the walls and all kinds of these
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
And even I'm driving solo, I'm driving with nobody and stuff, and it's still the pressure got the best of me and the camera pressure. So there is definitely pressure. I want to ask you, what is do you have any typical training regimen? Like, do you prepare for the competitions itself? Do you prepare yourself like physically, mentally? Is there something like you try to psych yourself up?
No, no. I've thought about it before, like a certain routine, but I just get in the car and drive. Like, I don't have a routine to get myself into a mindset for a day. I just turn up and drive. I think I think I'm very good at switching from being like just me to the driver. Like, as soon as I get in the car, then that's it. Like, I can switch off easily enough and focus on what I need to do. Um, yeah, the only thing that might put me off is if I know there's an issue with the car and that can't be fixed and I've got to live with it. That can sometimes play on me a bit, but like I think everyone's a bit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the saddest part, knowing that if you do a mistake, it's very heavily punished. This is the hardest. Yeah, the driving in real life, I have a lot of people tell me, and I agree with you that since I've got so much feedback on it's way easier, but at the same time, it the other factor that balances it out is yes, it is easier, but if you make a mistake, you get tremendously punished depending on what the mistake is.
Yes. Yeah, because
Mhm.
the difference is like, so for instance, for let's say for DCGP, right?
Yeah,
I haven't qualified for DCGP, and I'm not that fussed. Like, it's annoying, but I think it's £8 to enter, so I've paid £8, and that's it. That's all I've lost. Whereas if you go to, let's say, a real life competition, you can spend £1,000 before qualifying on tires. Some people do, and they don't qualify. And if that was me, I'd be extremely annoyed, because like £1,000 is a lot of money,
yes.
and to not qualify is it'd be like yeah, it'd be something that'd be very very gutting. Like, like, luckily for me, I'm not trying to sound big-headed, but I've never gone to a competition and not qualified. So I've never had that experience. But yeah, like, I can't imagine going and not qualifying. I'd be absolutely devastated.
It is hard. I think you never know what goes through the head of people. Maybe the guy's pressure, maybe this, maybe that. You never know. Everybody keeps their problems for themselves most of the part. You never know. A lot of people, are very judgmental when it happens to, like, oh,
Yeah,
this guy failed, and I'm thinking like, there, why did he fail? So I'm trying to ask a different question sometimes, And you
Yes.
know, a lot of times, I'm pretty sure, Charlie, you've probably drove with people that you already see multiple times. You know them, and you know if he doesn't qualify, like something is off. Maybe the guy doesn't have the right mind to it and something. What do you think
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah. No, 100%. I've been in that situation loads, where I've seen people that I know are really good drivers and they don't qualify. And when I spoke to them after, they've either got a car issue where the car keeps cutting off or doing something silly, or it's just nerves. And I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that I don't have nerves in real life, so I can just focus on driving. Whereas if in real life I was like I am on the sim, I think I probably wouldn't compete because I don't enjoy it. Like I get so nervous that I get sort of annoyed with myself because like it annoys me that I'm so nervous when I don't need to be. Um, yeah, but I imagine if some people in real life might actually have that, and that's something that I probably don't think about because I don't have that issue.
Yeah, I see. How would you handle? Do you think you would show up to an event if you had really like some sort of family issue or something major?
Um, yeah.
Just
Um,
knowing this will be on the back of your head when you're about to drive.
so again, going back to I can switch into drive mode easily. That's
Hmm.
in during COVID was when my second daughter was born, and the first because COVID and everything was shut down, all the competitions got postponed, um, and the first round of the competition of BDC that I was going to was due the same week as my daughter was going to be born. And so I was very much prepared not to go, um, and not do it because obviously I didn't want to miss the birth of my girl, and I did, and it wasn't fair on Amy to have it like deal with it all on her own, etc. But then she ended up coming a week early, and when she came, she had to stay in hospital for a few days, and she only got out of hospital like 2 days before the event. And me and Amy had a long chat, and it was very much like because Amy's my spotter, so Amy didn't want to go, which was fair enough. But Amy was very much pushing me to be like, you need to go, like you can't not go because we've put so much time and effort into the car, and you've prepared for it, so you need to go. So I ended up going. And the event was like 6 hours away. It was in Scotland at Driftland, so like that. Yeah, that's a 6 hour drive each way for me, which isn't the normal. Like normally the tracks near to us are 2 hours away max. So being so far away it definitely played on me. But once I got in the car, I was I just switched that mindset of just being a driver. I didn't. I mean, I didn't do very well. I qualified, but I lost my top 32 battle. I forgot to put fuel in the car, and the car fuel cut and midway through my run and straightened. Like you said, maybe that was part of because I wasn't fully in the mindset, and I was like I was thinking of Amy and my little girl. Maybe that's why I didn't put fuel in. And maybe that's why I lost. But yeah, like if depending on what it was, I might not go. But if it's something where I can go, then I will definitely try and do my best to be there.
I see. I wish her the best of health, and it's never good to have these situations. But it's about how did we deal with them, and the fact that you still went. Look, we could only speculate, but just thinking psychologically how much I've analyzed and things like even when you don't think about it or you don't even think that this bothers you and you think this is not a factor and stuff, I've seen that subconsciously all these things stay, and I believe maybe you were trying to like do all the things, do your best, and maybe rush things so like you could win the battles and things, and you were so focused on winning the battles,
Yeah,
get this done very quick as fast as possible so you could go and see your daughter. Maybe this is what strike you to maybe oversee some stuff like the fuel things,
yes,
and this might
yeah,
have costed you. So I'm
yeah.
this is just my speculation that we think that we this was not a factor or that this doesn't really affect us, but I believe it did had some fact, like maybe
Well,
didn't
100%. Yeah.
maybe didn't impact your driving, but I believe it impacted your judgment in terms of like maybe you were trying to go way too quick through the checklist of the car, this that, okay, boom boom boom, I'm ready. It happens, but I'm glad that everything, as long as you're alive, everything's fine and the car's fine, then I guess live to drive another day. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
my next
Yeah. I mean, no, go on, carry on, Sean.
sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
No, no, it's fine.
My next question was, I saw on your Instagram that you've been a judge. I'm curious.
Yes.
I'm curious from your perspective, what it is like to be a judge. What are the struggles? I know it's very. There are some places where it's very hard because how do you deal with like the tough calls, like when okay, you don't want to hurt the other guy, but you have no choice, like you don't want somebody to be hurt and stuff, like maybe it was a close battle or something.
Um. Yeah. Good question. I I don't mind judging. It's not horrendous, but I'd much rather be driving. But like last year, I had a year out because my car wasn't done, and I did a bit of judging just to help out. And yeah, the tough calls are tough, but luckily there's always three judges, so the call isn't just it's not just solely on my head. There's two other people that either think the same or there's a reason that they're thinking what they're thinking. So I don't actually mind it too much because it's sort of split. It's not like I've said, oh, he's lost and then it's all on me. It's very much a three-way thing, and we're all in agreement and we've all got our reasoning as to why we've made that decision. So I don't mind it, to be fair. There is some tough calls, and because when I've done judging, I'm judging in the moment, and we don't have replays to watch because there's no live
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
So that's that is very easy to miss stuff, and not having replays of different angles is very hard to not get all of the information. Like there was a call last year where some guy lost his battle, and it was actually a good friend of mine, and he lost his battle because they were coming into a hairpin corner, and he was chasing, and he hit the lead car, and then they spun out. But he showed me the footage after, and the lead car didn't missed a gear, so they just didn't go. But to us, it looked like he came in very hot and hit them, so we put the fault on him. When in reality, it was the lead car's fault, and I feel shit because that's ruined his weekend. Like we've knocked him out when it's not his fault, but that's judging. Like it's a judge sport. We're just going off what we can see, and we aren't inside the car. And that's just what I say to people. Like I will apologise if I'm wrong. I'm wrong, and I'll apologise and say yeah, sorry. We made the wrong call, but we can't. We don't have all the information. Unfortunately, we can't. Yeah, we can't deal with everything like
Not
that.
Yeah, not each competition, I believe, in real life has the finances to get a drone operator and like all this footage to be sent, like
Yeah,
Formula Drift. So I believe this is crazy expensive as well. So what I believe is that when you're judging, you gotta have a tough skin and be able to live with like, okay,
yes,
I made a bad call, but I believe, yes, this can mean a lot to somebody else, like you said in your frame. But how I see it is, unfortunately, you have to sacrifice making some bad calls on the way to become better judge or driver. As like with anything, you will make a lot of errors, and I guess you have to learn. I think the hard way is the best way, as long as you learn something, of course.
yeah.
My next questions, I think we pretty much answered the beginning, because like, bro, I can sit and talk to you all day, don't get me wrong, but we all have like work to do. So I had the category of like sim versus real life questions, and I believe we pretty much answered everything. Like the question was, what are the key differences between sim and real life drifting, and we pretty much nailed everything, like the
Yeah,
G forces and all the stuff. Then was like, this question was like, do you believe that skills developed in simulator can effectively translate to real world drifting? And obviously, we also covered this because as you said, you went from G25 to real life, and yes, it absolutely does. One question that I just reminded myself, I just spoke
Yeah,
with a friend yesterday. How do you deal with the? And this is he asked me something, and I told him like, you probably just adapt to this. So here's the question: how do you
yeah,
deal at the beginning without these double straps and things like that when you're with a stock car and the car tosses you left and right? I think that you just adapt and you just counter with your body to go to the opposite side rather when the car is gonna toss you with the G forces and stuff. But he was very
yeah.
interested. I think for me this I think was common sense. I would try to move my body to the opposite side and counter.
So when I had my first MX-5, I didn't have harnesses. I didn't have anything like that. And I remember I just braced my knees up against the gearbox tunnel, like and the door card to hold me in when I was drifting. Um, yeah, that's all I used and sort of held onto the steering wheel as much as I can
Is the
to stop
ragdolling
it
very bad?
moving. Sorry.
Is the ragdolling very bad when you toss the car?
No, not that bad. It depends how hard you drive. I'm quite smooth in real life, so I don't get thrown about as much.
Hmm.
Um,
So
but yeah, some people can.
I see. This was a
Um,
very interesting question that was asked from a buddy of mine, and I decided, I just reminded myself of this, and like, why not throw it in? Um, so I have a question for you. I think this is the only one maybe that's worth asking from here. What is your advice? So, like, exclude me and my videos, whatever. What is your advice? What advice would you give to individuals that are practicing in simulators and like you, they're maybe young or they're older and they aspire, to swap from sim to real life. Hey, like I love this. Drifting is actually goddamn fun. I want to go to real life. What advice would you
yeah,
give them, knowing what you know now compared to before? Prices, fuel,
yeah.
tires, all these things. What is your advice?
Uh, Keep it simple. Like keep the costs down, especially if you go into real life. Like it can get expensive very, very, very quickly. Um, I would say start off with a very basic car. So like an E36, an MX-5, 350Z IS200, something like that, and just go and have fun with it. Like I would probably recommend if you can buy new tires. Like they don't have to be expensive ones, just budget. But like they will last a lot longer than part ones. They're more consistent, so you're not gonna if you just went to a tire shop and said, "Have you got any part ones?" and you're throwing different tires on here, there, and everywhere, then you'll get varying grip levels. Whereas if you're just putting a new tire on, it might last you all day, but one pair of new tires that will be exactly the same all day long. Like they're not going to change, they're not going to run out. Um, yeah, that's probably what I would say on that matter, and just keep it simple. Like don't go over the top. Just because the big guys have all the stuff, you don't need it. Just learn how to drift, and once you start hitting limits with your car, is probably when I would say is look to upgrade. So like once you start drifting at full lock everywhere or using it all the time, then I would maybe look at adding a bit more lock, like some rack spacers or some cut knuckles or whatever. But just drive to your limits. Don't overbuild your car because a lot of people will. I know of a few people personally that have gone to like real life drifting and they've built this insane car off the bat. And then they don't enjoy it and sell the car within a year because they've put so much money into it and they can't drive this car that's got so much grip and power. Whereas if you start off with something basic, you're just gonna have fun in it, and then you slowly build up. Um, yeah, that's what I would say. Just keep
Mhm.
it simple and enjoy the process. Don't try and be a drift masters driver straight off the bat because it's not gonna happen.
I think the biggest mistake, Charlie, that most people do is they don't start somewhere. It's something one mistake that I'm doing now with these servers that I'm working in the background. I want it to be perfect, and this then the perfectionistic mindset comes to me. I want this and that, and I try to listen to my own advice, but sometimes even I don't listen to it. So that was when people ask me, "Hey, I want to upgrade. Like, I don't want to buy a." Logitech and stuff, and they want to like screw Logitech is at fault. And I had a student specifically that he was a very good driver, bro. I'm not gonna lie, he was a great driver. Like, he could link the tracks with no problem. You know what was his main problem? It was the wheel. It was the steering wheel, the base. Then it was the tune of the car. Then it was the car. Then it's the track. It's he
Yeah,
blames everything else but himself.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when I told him, bro, forget all this BS. Don't talk. Don't say a word. I see you're getting hot headed. Just forget about this. Lock your eyes into the monitor in a specific dot or whatever place and just drive. And when he did that, it's like his skill level just jumped 50%. Stop spreading your focus is your energy. I believe this is what people don't understand. Your focus is your energy. When you spread your focus, I show this to my clients. Okay, try to focus now on the wheel, and then his throttle started playing. Now he was not that good on the gas anymore because now he split his focus between the wheel and the pedal. And this is what people don't understand. Start
yeah.
somewhere. At least you started somewhere, build the experience, and then go over it. So
Yeah, and that's another thing that you mentioned, which is quite something that annoys me as well, is people that try and blame the car for all the problems. Like they've always got an excuse. I know of someone who kept having understeering issues with the car. Like coming into a corner, they just understeer, and so to fix that, they just put some really sticky tires on the front of the car. When in reality, I've been driving in real life now for over 10 years, and I've never had a consistent issue of understeer on any car I've driven, and I've driven all sorts of cars. And I think part of it is people are very easy nowadays to try and buy something to fix a problem rather than just fix it with the driving. Um, that's something that a lot of people will do, but I can guarantee that this person won't have just thought, "Oh, I'm understeering. I need to buy new tires." What they will have done is they'll have spoken to multiple people around the pits, and they will have all said, "Oh, put some new tires on the front of it." Whereas in reality, they could just drive different, and then they fix the issue, and then they don't have to spend £200 on front tires. Like that's a big thing at the moment. Is everyone in the UK? I don't know if it's all over if it's all over or what, but in the UK, there's a lot of people that run very sticky rally tires on the front of their car
mhm.
because that's just a done thing. That's what everyone does. So everyone does it, and it's not needed. Like it's not needed at all. Um, but unfortunately, that's the way we live. That's the biggest influence in that sense, I guess. Yeah, so that's something that bugs me. Is don't try and just fix something by buying something. If there's not an actual issue, speak to some professional drivers and just tell them you're having this issue. See what they think. Don't be afraid to ask people as well. Like a lot of people in drifting are actually quite chill and very open to talk. Like I know if I'm at a drift day and I get someone come and talk to me, I don't brush them off. Like I will happily talk to someone, even if I don't know them. I'll still talk to them, give them advice because I'm there to help. Like, and there's a lot of people that are like that, and you'll find that a lot of people are happy to talk, but they don't put themselves out there. But if you go to them and ask them, they will help. And I bet it's probably the same with like a lot of drift masters guys. If they're at a practice day just for fun, they will probably talk and probably offer you advice if you go and talk to them. But if you don't, then they can't help you, can they? Yeah, that's probably something I'd say.
Yeah, so that's how I see it. And to be fair, I saw the videos on Instagram when you're driving the car, and it seems pretty hooked in the front. So your car is even understeering at some point, but you overcome this by steering a bit and giving a lot of gas. And I think people just need to, okay, in real life you don't have the opportunity to just swap everything like with snap of fingers like in sim. So
Yep.
you gotta really adapt your driving to how the car is. Learn what it
Yes.
is. Yes, it might not be the best driving, but you're not in sim. It might not be the
No,
the
exactly.
the best
Yeah.
in theory, like nice and silky smooth and stuff like in sim, but you're in real life. This is your car. That's how you set it up. These are maybe the budget limitations, whatever limitations you have. Learn to drive it and make the best of what you have, as you said. They could pretty simply just add a bit more degrees when you're turning, give more gas. The gas will amplify the rotation, and you get the car to turn. You overcome the
Yeah.
understeer. It's
Exactly.
again rotation versus rotation, like the rotation versus grip.
Yeah, and I think from me starting when I started out drifting in real life, I was on a very tight budget. Like I didn't have the best job, and I think that has helped me a lot because I couldn't afford to just go out and buy new tires to fix it. Like I had to correct my driving to deal with the understeer. Like I would on a transition, I would throw the wheel a lot harder to try and get the car to snap harder instead of just putting new tires on the front. I'd just drive harder, and I think a lot of people could do with that instead of just buying new tires.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that's
exactly.
that's my advice.
What
And
are
it's
some?
cheaper.
Exactly.
Fixing your driving is cheaper than buying new tires for your car.
Yes, yes. I think it's like trying to buy the solution off. It's like sometimes it's
Yeah,
not the best
it
way.
it's like just putting a plaster on it. The problem's still there. It's just fixed by the tires rather than a permanent solution, which is your driving. It's a temporary solution of the tires, isn't it? Whereas if you fixed your driving, that's permanent. You don't have to worry about it ever again. But once you change tires again, or them tires start wearing out, you're gonna have the same issue again. Then you got to buy more tires.
Yeah, how I see it, how I see it, and I usually am this type of guy in the game. I like what happened is that you instead of you trying to adapt to the car, you try to adapt the car to you, what you want to
Yes.
do, how you want to drive. So what I usually like to do this in the sim, like adapt the car to my way of driving. So I drive every car the same, but in reality, obviously, even if you tune it, it's gonna be a bit different depending on horsepower and the physics. But this is the funny part
Yeah.
because it gives me flashback of myself and but in real life, obviously, I would probably go this way where okay, this is the car I have, like you just adapt.
Yeah. That's what you have to do. Another thing as well is throttle control. A lot of people are probably not with the way you teach, but a lot of and the handbrake, I guess. A lot of people treat them like a switch, so it's like on or off. Whereas there's a lot of modulation that can come from the throttle control, and you can do a lot with your car just by your throttle. Like once your car's set at angle in a corner, you can control that just with throttle. You don't need to be steering a lot. And I think that's where a lot of people you can change from being smooth to being aggressive. Is if you're steering a lot instead of using your throttle, um, that can have a big impact on how your car is.
Um, yeah, I completely agree because obviously in sim, if you want to be silky smooth and so on, like I usually what I like to do is you apply how I like to do things is like you apply as enough needed, as minimal steering as possible, and then I use the gas as an amplifier of like let's say I set like 30 degrees of rotation and I know this is way too low for the corner or whatever is coming, and then I give a lot
Yeah,
of gas to lose enough grip and amplify the rotation, and that's how I get the car to turn. But I think people maybe don't like to sometimes adapt to the car, the circumstances.
yeah. I
uh,
think yeah. I think you're right. Some people prefer to have a car set up one way, and they don't try and change their driving to suit it. They just want the car set up how they want it or what they're used to. Yeah, like probably a good example of this though is on Sunday. I am going to Teesside to do some drifting with a friend of mine. He's just got a new drift car. It's a 370Z, but he's asked me to come along and do some driving with him in the car. And that's not it's not my car, so I will just have to adapt myself to that car. I can't change it to suit me. Um, and I think that it does help. I'm quite good at being able to jump into any car and just drive it straight off the bat because I don't rely on I don't rely on the car having really grippy front tires. I can just work around that, and I think that's something that a lot of people maybe overlook and don't think about.
exactly, and how I see it is that you go and you adapt to the car because like that's a real life limitation. You go and like you're not gonna go and change somebody else's car, of course, or somewhere. And plus, it's if you do that, it's expensive. So it reminded me of these bone stock challenges that I did. I did like 22 episodes, and these are stock cars. You really, even in the game itself, you can't change too much out of them. You can't make the car obey or drift when it's a stock car. It doesn't have the angle kit and the power and stuff. So what happens is I had to literally adapt on the car itself. What the car can accept, what cannot accept, what is too much, what is too less, to make obviously a non drift car, slide. And I think this is the best I can relate to. Like, you have to adapt. You are forced to adapt to the car. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
I have a
I agree.
I have a few questions, Charlie, which I think we can finish for today.
Yeah,
Obviously, if this was interesting for you, I can build up some other questions with like tracks and driving, and you're interested to show up again. I'll be more than happy with you. But my equipment is dying a bit with the batteries and stuff. So
yeah.
this is more about future of drifting. How do you see the future of drifting evolving, especially with increasing popularity of simulation platforms? Like, what's your opinion of like new games in general? Where do you think sim is heading in your perspective?
I don't know. I thought about it. I mean, I can't. There's not much more that that sim can really give. Maybe better, maybe slightly better tire physics, but I mean, Assetto Corsa does it pretty damn well. There's a few cars that I drive that feel very much like my real car, and like for like that's pretty mind blowing to me that a game can feel like a real car. Um, so I'd like in terms of realism, I don't think there's much more that can come of it apart from like I said, maybe some a slightly better tire physics. But I don't. Yeah, I quite enjoy what we've already got. So even if we just get a better, slightly optimized game where you can have better graphics on a lower spec PC or whatever, like that, that's probably the next level of it. But other than that, I don't think there's much more for it to give. I could probably see real life drifting going to um, less grip because I think we're at a point now where the top cars like Formula Drift and Drift Masters are at such a grip level that the cars are almost undrivable. Um, and people like Chelsea Denofa have spoke about this before, where they're saying like they're putting so much grip into the cars that they're just not enjoyable to drive. And because they're so gripped up, if you make the smallest throttle mistake, you're going to straighten up and like, and then that's your weekend over, and you don't get the best battles because of that. So Chelsea Denoff has talked about reducing the tire size on Formula Drift before a lot, just to make it so it's cheaper and the battles are better. Um, yeah, I don't. It is expensive. Like Drift Masters, I know that the Valinos that they run in Drift Masters, they pay about £160 per tire. So they're paying £320 for two tires that last two laps. Like that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
This is a lot, yeah. But I've watched this, and honestly, how I see it going in formal drift, it's I'm really not a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of it. I really enjoy the Japan style,
Yeah,
like how it is in Japan and the Japanese, way. Even there, it's starting to change, and I like that. Okay, you have this side of drifting and that side of drifting. At least there's like two varieties, two ways, but the way that, oh, this side is gonna set this standard and now everybody else adapts to it is very stupid. I really hate it, because now what happens is that Formula Drift set the standard of like you hook up the car as much as possible, and I believe when you look at Long Beach and Adam Melzis E36, where he straightened out, or like he was fighting to like stay even sideways.
yeah.
This was bro, like they're putting so much grip. It's no longer about who is the smoothest. Nobody's smoother there. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah,
you stay sideways and survive, almost like you're fighting this beast of a car. And then who can gap who? They're like this
yeah,
style. How I see it is the style has changed in formal drift, rather than having amazing battles and like who can risk more, be keep the proximity and stuff, to who can gap the other guy and just fly away, like as much grip as possible. I think
yeah. I agree.
we're never going to see, at least here, like, or maybe even in the Japanese scene, is changing these amazing entries and fun, entertaining, drivings that they had. It's so fun. It was really fun to watch and entertaining. But I think the style is dying, and it's more about, like, I don't know what is stylish in, like, fly out and gap the other guy. Like,
Yeah,
it needs to be from both sides. A mixture. Otherwise, I
yeah.
think it's a bit. I don't
Drifting
know.
is very much a show, isn't it? Drifting's a show. It's not a race. Like it's putting on a show for people. And if you're going to be six car lengths apart because the car's undrivable, that's not really putting on a show, is it? Like it's not showing off what drifting's about. Um, so yeah, like I mean, this isn't me against grippy cars. Like I love grippy cars. Like driving a really grippy car on Bihoku or Mayhan is amazing because you can go as fast as you want and just throw it in. Um, I think there's definitely a time and a place, but I'm just not sure that the likes of Formula Drift, etc., is going to get any better with adding more grip.
Yes, I think the same. How I see it is, even in sim, I really hated grippy cars at the beginning because you don't know how to tame the car. You don't know how to
Yeah,
control the car. So you start with, like, very nice and chill, relaxed car because you need to learn what the car is doing. So then you have more time to react. If the car goes nice and easy and slow, you have more reaction time. What this means is that since the movements and everything is going to be slower, even when you're a beginner, you have no idea what's happening. You will see it happening and moving, and you'll have time to react. But if it's all fast and just a snap of fingers, bam, the car snaps on you, you have no idea still what's going on. Like, you lose it. So
yeah,
that's why I hate it. And now, obviously, I believe almost everybody, as they grow up in experience, you start to like more grippier cars. Obviously, not too much, not too grippy. I believe the most realistic car pack, and I'll get to this, that mimics, obviously, if we have to mimic formal drift, I believe ESDA car pack, the ESDA car pack is the most realistic in terms of physics. It's the most hooked up. It just mimics the behaviors when I drive it. It just, and I look at formal drift videos, it just mimics the behaviors. I'm like, this is like exactly how, the informal drift it is. And, like, when I look at
right,
the
okay,
POVs of James Dean and others, and I look at the car what's doing, and I look at my GoPro, and I look at the video that I did, and I'm like, bro, this is really, really similar. This is the car. It's not even the VDC. VDCs, maybe if I tuned them to get to this crazy hooked up level, but I believe ESDA car pack is
right.
there.
So yeah, I haven't driven the ESDA car park. I haven't heard about it. But yeah, that sounds fun. Maybe I should give it a try.
I think you need to try it, and I think you'll love it. Honestly, will definitely require some tuning. But my next question is, what role do you think technology and simulations will play in the training and development of future drifters? But it's more of a question. So most of the time, I'm not sure if you face this, but I faced it, and it seems like a lot of people are facing this. So you tell your parents, "Hey, I'm driving on a simulator, and I'll go in real life," and they're like, "Ah, you go in real life. It's a video game, simulator." So they're very skeptical that this can transition from sim to real life, and you already
Yeah,
did. And recently, there was a kid in the chat. There was some of the cool fellas that are typing in the drift talk, and like, "Hey, my parents don't believe me," or this, that, and they say that, I was the same. What can I tell? Like, I was the same. Like, people just underestimate you. And I tell them, okay, if this is true, and I literally told this to my father, if this is true, well, why are there so many pilots, and they, when they're in their academy and they, on school, whatever,
yeah,
they put thousands of hours, like at least 1,000 of hours on a sim before they even jump in a real plane, and they need
yeah,
to know
yeah,
all the switches and stuff. Why are there then race car drivers
yeah,
and rally drivers getting sim rigs if they don't have the conditions to go and practice and drive in real life? They'll practice the muscle memory at home. why are there then pilots, or even the fight pilots? You could, I'm pretty sure there's crazy simulators. I saw a simulator
Oh
that's a
yeah,
$1 million from BMW. It's counterintuitive, but it's still crazy how stubborn the parents are, or like some people that
yeah.
this is garbage. I guess maybe. Do you think this is some degrading, or this trying to dismissive tactic to make you, like, I don't know.
No, I just think that they don't understand. They just don't understand. That's it. Um, yeah, they just don't understand. Um, that's pretty much all it can be. Especially if you look at people like what's that kid called from FD who drives the who was that
Was it
That young Japanese
was he
kid? Just
driving GT86? I forgot his
yeah,
name. Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him. Very
but
smooth,
like
like great driver.
yeah, but like he's how old? He's 14, so he can't even drive in real life, and yet he's really 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 good. Um, and I think that comes from the sim, and like that's all it can be is the sim. Um, and that just proves it though. That proves how much it can impact your driving because he's come from a sim to real life drifting, and already he's like one of the best in Formula Drift. Like I think he finished fifth in his first ever season of Formula Drift. Like in America, that's pretty crazy. And to say he's 14 as well, so he's never driven on the road, nothing like that.
Yeah,
And that just proves that how good the sim can be and how realistic the sim can be, especially if you get like VR, which I've recently got. It's yeah,
I think my next step
it's
will be a VR. But
amazing.
yeah, this is great. Obviously, I had some people, I had some friends, or like people that know me, not exactly friends, but very skeptical on. You can guess when something is said in a dismissive way when they ask you, "Hey, do you think you can drift in real life and stuff?" And I'm like, if you give me a car, give me the possibilities, I think I'll need maybe a lap or two just to get the hang of the throttle, like so I don't, stall the car and let the engine die and stuff. You keep it going, but pretty much everything is the same. We just need to adapt a bit to getting shaked and thrown left and right and stuff. But I think everybody, it's not just me, but anybody that has gotten the literally the foundation and is at least in a similar very good level, I think can completely just go in real life. And if he has, the right place, track and a car, I think giving them like a good shot, they'll damn nail it. Because like they know the steering movements, they know what's supposed to happen, they know the concept.
Yeah, my eldest daughter, she's 12, but like she's done a bit of driving on the sim already, and I would definitely like when she learns how to drive, I will definitely get her on the sim and teach her on the sim before spending loads of money on driving lessons because I think there's a lot that can come from it um, before she actually goes driving on the road, and it can probably save a lot of money and a lot of time really by learning how to drive on a sim compared to on the road because there's no risk involved either on a sim. Like so, I think there's definitely benefits to it now, and as a parent that grew up with it, I definitely understand the benefits to it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely with you. It's better to like get everything in the sim once you know the concept. I think you could go and give it a try in real life, and you'll be like, oh, now you could adapt to the real factors and get even more information. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm really happy that we kind of agree. And I'll tell you this. What was I wanted to do a lot of driving videos and things like this, and do entertaining. And even in my last video, I do want to keep driving and make entertaining videos. But what happened is, why this interview with you on checking all these things are very important for me is because when you swap from it, how I see it, it's one thing to be a good driver, but now I see a bigger picture, bigger goal. It's one thing to I see as being the driver, or like the entertainer, this channel, this guy that does the challenges and stuff. or some crazy driving, whatever, to move to, okay, being a driver is selfish, that's for me, this is my goal, but what if you can elevate and get to the next step and help others? But the problem here is when you drive, it's you driving. If you fail, you fail. It's your thing. You're not misleading anybody. But when you start to make educational videos, you really gotta make sure that your knowledge, everything is on point, because you don't want to mislead people. There's a very big uh, chance or room for error when you're speaking things, and you say something wrong and you leave it as a video out there, like you're essentially misleading people. So there it's bigger pressure, way bigger pressure than just putting the cameras. I can go drive and there's really no pressure about it when I upload it on YouTube. But when you're making educational videos, it's a way bigger pressure. And you know that what is the sad part is that entertaining videos get way more views, and if I have to go for the money, obviously I'll just do driving purely, because educational videos, they don't get views. Like there's not much interest nowadays like it used to be maybe long ago to learn skills rather than being distracted and entertained by social media. So
Yes,
it's very sad that the educational videos that I'm trying to make and focus on, they just don't pay off. Let's call it like this. But I'm still willing to sacrifice and keep going and share what I know. I have went very in depth on the beginning of how you should start to drift, and I haven't went into but the tandems and all the other advanced complicated stuff which I plan to do. And now find obviously the willpower is just sometimes it's a bit demotivating looking back that it doesn't get as much traction, and you see people driving cars with assisted physics and whatever, and they get like a crazy amount of views. But that this is life.
it is. Yeah, that's just how it's evolving, unfortunately. But I think what you are doing is definitely worthwhile, and I can definitely see the benefits. And if anyone comes to me wanting to learn how to drift, I will definitely point them in your direction, because you like what you're doing is amazing. Like there's not many people that are willing to put the effort, or the time and effort that you do into it.
uh,
Yeah,
I appreciate it, bro. I really appreciate your words, especially coming from a professional real life drifter. And yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's really sad, especially some of the information that I'm putting out there, and just for a couple hundred of views, it's sometimes it's why am I doing this? But I try to always tell myself, no, stop, don't think negatively, keep the heads up and keep going, when, because how I see it is, okay, it won't bring me money, doesn't it's not, it doesn't make you popular, it doesn't make you grow too much, but hopefully you're helping somebody out there. When you go to sleep and I wake up and I see comments of like, hey, you helped me so much, this keeps me pushing more, this keeps me
yeah,
moving more. It just
and I
makes me
think
happy that when you go to sleep, when you wake up, you actually helped somebody while you're sleeping. So what
yeah, yeah,
happens
yeah,
if I die tomorrow? If I die tomorrow, at least I'm helping, there is something left behind me that I'm helping
yeah, yeah.
somebody.
And you also have to remember, right? It's very easy in this day and age to think a few hundred views isn't a lot. But what if them few hundred views are actually like 200-300 people you've taught how to drift? That's a lot of people just through the videos you've made. Like, but it's very easy in this day and age to be like, oh, I haven't got thousands of views, so I'm doing shit. Like, but if you've taught, say, 300 people how to drift from one video, that's amazing. Like, that's it's definitely something to think about, and sort of not knock yourself down, not knock yourself for.
But I think you have a point. There was a friend that told me, "Hey, bro, just think like 5K views or like 200. Just think of all these people and like you bringing them into a room. That's a lot of people." And I'm like, "Yes, when you think about this in this perspective, yes." But at the same time, compared to the older people, like it's very easy to get lost and look all people getting like crazy amount of views. But yeah, it's the risk. This is the risk, and we gotta keep going. Somebody has to do it, I guess. But
Yeah,
I have two more extra questions. Maybe I can add a third one if you have time.
so go
They're
on.
pretty short ones. What is your favorite drift track in real life on the sim?
So on in real life, Teesside. I love Teesside, or even Mondello in Ireland. I've driven there once, and I'd love to go back again. That was really good. What other on the sim? I like. Have you heard of just Sunrise Circuit? Sukuruma, I think it's called.
I think yeah, I've heard.
That's probably my favorite one on the sim right now. Yeah.
Okay. What about car pack? Which car pack do you like, and which one do you find most realistic? I kind of classify for myself. I kind of classify them. Okay, for grassroots, this is kind of the best. But I have a very variable opinion because I did discuss this, and most people I tell them as long as the suspension the physics are not cheaty in terms of like way too assisted, where because like I know it's way too much assistance when I go on the gas and the car keeps the angle by itself without me having to, it doesn't change almost with any inputs. So my point
Um,
is, for
yeah.
realism you could tune a lot of the cars, you could definitely tune them like BDC car pack, the street one, at least the older version, was very slidey, but due to the tunability I could grip them up a lot and I really managed to
Yeah.
get them to a proper level. So a lot of cars you could bring them up. But what is your experience from the get-go, maybe with stock tunes, whatever, which car pack do you like the most, maybe for comp and maybe for grassroots?
Swarm V3 is my current favorite. They're like there's an S13. I'm driving it now. Actually, it's called a TBZ S13, and it feels a lot like my real car. Um, and I just love it. Yeah, like that's my absolute favorite. I don't really have a favorite pro pack. Uh, I get a bit bored of VDC. DCGP is a bit awkward to drive. They're very laggy. I don't know. I wouldn't really say I've got a favorite pro pack.
I think you should.
Uh,
You definitely should try the ESDA. I remember driving DCGP, but these cars, I think the stock. I'm pretty sure I did tune them, and like you could get these cars to be very good, but I had to spend so much time tuning them, and they're like so snappy, so weird. Like I don't know, the stock tune is definitely quite weird. It was so easy with the stock tuner, just like you toss the car and it always spins out, and I had to tune it. It's like I don't know. They felt very weird for me. It's like the grip is there and stuff, but like you have to complete. It's almost like you start from scratch and you have to completely tune the car. That's how I felt like with the
right. Okay. I'll give them a try then. They sound fun.
that's how I felt with DCGP. But ESDA cars, you do have to do some tuning. There's like, but I think you really like it. I think you really
Yeah.
like the ESDA cars. That I think they're the most, they're the closest to Formula Drift, like in terms of mimicking
Right.
realism.
Yeah. I'll give them a try. I'll give them
Uh,
a try, man. But yeah,
and
Swarm V3. Swarm V3 is my absolute favourites. There's a few cars on there that are really good, but the TBZ S13 just feels a lot like my real car, and that's what I'm trying to replicate my real car so that I can get better in real life, and this is perfect for it, really.
that's great. And my final question that I would like to wrap with is, what, since you probably went to gear driven, belt driven, as you said, T300, so
Yep,
G25 T300, and now
yep,
you're on the direct drive. So
yep.
what is your perspective on, and what do you feel the difference, well, from your side? Like what can you say about the wheelbases?
Direct drive is a game changer. When I first got it, it feels like cheating. It's just so impressive how much detail you get through the wheel and how accurate it is. Like you can control how fast it rotates, like during transition. There's loads you can do, and You get so much more feedback through the wheel than you do with like say a T300 because it can just deal with more force feedback without sacrificing power or anything like that. So um, yeah, I mean a G25 or yeah, even nowadays a T300 is still acceptable to learn to drift with. Um, yeah, like I only got this Simagic Alpha Mini direct drive thing like 2 weeks ago. So it's not long I've had it, but like I wouldn't go back. It's yeah, it's quite amazing how good it is for to say it's just a wheel. But yeah, if you want to start off and you want to get, you could get a G29, a Logitech G29 or a Thrustmaster T300. Like they're still really good. Like just to get into drifting, like maybe not for road racing because they don't have the force feedback level, but for drifting, they're more than enough. Especially if you're just starting off. I'd probably say direct drive is maybe overkill. Um, but yeah, that's my opinion on it. If you can only afford a G29, then get one. It's better than nothing.
Yes, I believe that's correct. This is what I'm telling people. They always want to jump on overkill. Like, I started with G29 because I went to a friend and he had, I think, G27, and it was
Yeah.
so busted. No force feedback, like just the wheelbase. This thing was destroyed, and I drove just normally on it. So then I went home after that day and I'm like, bro, driving is so much fun. And, my parents were never that enthusiastic to, teach me something or like, give me to drive or like whatever. They never got me into anything. So I'm like, I just fell in love with this. And I'm like, I immediately went and I bought one G29. And unfortunately, because of so much driving, like 4 to 12 hours a day, sometimes it was
Yeah.
like every day at least a few hours, the gears grinded into each other and one of the gear actually slipped, so the plastic worn out. And when you
Yeah.
go, let's say you toss it, I was in drift playground and I toss the car, and what happens is I catch it into angle, and then that specific angle, I don't know what happened over time, but the one of the gears there grinded, I guess, so much that when I'm holding the counter steer and then just the gears slip. And I'm like, come on, like what's going? There's something off with it. So it seems like the gears inside grinded, and I had to always overcorrect to not let this specific gear. I learned which degree, which position this specific teeth of the gear is grinded, and I couldn't stay there. So this really started to affect me, and I had to just call it. And then I decided to upgrade to a Thrustmaster TSXW. But I really
Yeah.
wish I could go to direct drive soon. And as far as I heard and I've seen, because I've spent a lot of time learning all these settings that they have and tuning them and helping a lot of people, even my friend.
Yeah.
You could make it like, yes, you could use them in a bad way to make it super unrealistic and the wheelbase to assist you like crazy amount. But if you're looking for realism and you're not planning, to do the bad way, you can get the most realism out of these bases. It's great,
Oh yeah,
especially
100%.
I can't wait
Yep.
to get a VR as well.
Yeah. So that's another thing I was going to say. If you can afford it, get VR. Like I only have my PC is not the best spec. It's got a 3060 graphics card. It's quite old now, and I've only got an Oculus Rift S. It cost me £100 for the VR headset. Like it's not a lot of money, but the level of immersion it brings to actual driving, and also with like it teaches you where to look, like in drifting, which will translate massively into real life, which you don't get if you've just got a screen, because you're staring straight forward. But if you actually get VR, it teaches you where to look. It teaches you lots and lots and lots of things, and it helps you with car placement as well because you can almost feel the car around you. I only got VR just before Christmas. Before that, I was on a screen. But since getting VR, I wouldn't go back. Like even though the quality isn't as good, like the graphics aren't as good, the immersion it brings is just next level, and it really does feel like sometimes that I am driving a real car just sat in my garage. Like a few of my friends have got the sim as well that I drive with in real life, and when I'm driving with them on a circuit, it just feels like I'm driving with them in real life, and it's so good. Like, yeah, I would definitely say if you can afford VR, get VR and learn with VR because it's if you can get an Oculus Rift S, they're quite old now and they're very basic, but they're a very good headset for what they are, and they're not expensive and they don't require a lot to run them. Yeah, I'd say get VR if you can, definitely.
I think it's what I've seen from the VR is great. I'd say probably it's best to learn the foundation first without the VR, because it's gonna get them very nauseous, I guess. Like you might get some headaches at the beginning, especially
Yeah,
with like
maybe.
because they'll be spinning out like crazy when they learn
Yeah, yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
you
good
need to
point.
have a good foundation first, and when you can link tracks, then you jump into VR. I think it's gonna be amazing. I really want to jump into VR because I recently changed to roof cam. I used to drive for years on first person because I really love realism, but what I figured out is just I don't know, with the inside camera, even with the neck effects, I could never judge what exact angle I am. I did learn the neck effects over time, and I also, I just can't know how close I am to others, or maybe because I've set up everything here is just I just started somewhere and I dove into the sim without knowledge and I made tons of errors. The triple monitor setup that I have is set up as ultra wide and it's very bad. Everything is literally super bad at the moment. So I went to roof cam and I'm very happy because now I have all the information that I couldn't see. But when I saw
Yeah,
videos of like the VR, it's like with the VR you could see this extra information that when I was thinking maybe this is the way.
yeah. The one thing I've struggled with VR is the field of view. So in VR, I think part of it is because it's a cheap VR headset. Is that the field of view isn't as good as real life. And when I first started drifting with it, I it's very much like you can only see what you're looking at. Your peripheral vision is very hindered as such. Um, and in drifting in real life, I rely on my peripheral vision quite a lot. So it's taught me a lot to you like turn my head more and look around more. But that can only be a benefit when you go to if you learn in the sim and then you go to real life. That's only a benefit because again, you're only gaining when you go to real life compared to like going backwards. So yeah, if you can learn how to drift with VR and then you go to real life, you're only gaining more sight. Like, and it's only going to benefit you.
I think I can't agree more, bro. I really this is this has been great. Like the information you've laid out, the answers you gave, and this is my first ever time I decide, to do an interview. I prepared, some list of questions. Maybe I did a bad job. I never
No,
did interviews. I never did any sort of interviews and stuff. But I wanted to make it so that people can hear a perspective from a professional real life driver, how expensive it is, what it costs, what it takes to go to drift real life from a sim. Can you transition from sim, how it is, how it feels, like, what it takes you, the money, everything.
yeah,
And, the benefits, the downsides, everything. And this is what I wanted to bring, at least the most of it in one video. And, hopefully in the future we could even like can get the GoPro, we could drive together something, we could have a lot of fun.
yes,
But
yeah,
I
I'll do that.
believe this is extremely, at least from my perspective, it's extremely beneficial. Somebody that has gone through all this pile of crap, to get to real life, to pay all this crazy money, have all this trouble with the cars, have all these troubles, on the tracks and stuff. What this type of person has to say, this next step, because everybody is asking me, hey, well, what it is to go in real life, what it is to do that. And I didn't have the opportunity because just when I looked at the sheer prices to get a car and like what I need to run it, just estimately when you've done the digging, and I'm like, bro, I'm getting broke trying to invest everything in this project that I'm doing here. What's left for getting a car and going to drift now? Like, I'm
I think the price of cars is drastically going up, unfortunately. But hopefully, like some cheaper cars will start coming through soon again.
how I see it is it's a bit getting a bit bizarre. Like a car gets old and instead of getting cheaper and more affordable, they classify it. Oh no, this is now a retro car.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now this is again more expensive, even though it's a pile of trash. So it's
yep,
it's crazy. They try to win money out of everything. No, it's
yeah,
retro car. It's not old car. It's not bad. I mean, it's old car, but it's not bad. It's retro. Like, bro, come on. Like this thing is being slid. Has been God knows how many miles it has. It's beaten down. It's what a retro car. It's some funny things, but well,
Another, just going back to the direct drive question, I would say that a direct drive is much more consistent than the T300 that I had as well. Like I find it much easier now to replicate a run over and over and over with a direct drive compared to when I had T300, because sometimes it wouldn't do exactly the same thing over and over. Whereas with the direct drive, it's just so consistent. You get the same force feedback every single time without fail. It's just night and day difference.
I see that this is important because uh, somebody said something about our people downgrading from direct drive to T300, and I'm like, bro, you can't be serious. Why? Just because you don't know how to tune the bass yet and stuff? Why would you even ditch it? Yeah, it's probably can be bad. It's like the competition cars, the virtual competition cars, when like you get them, okay, the stock tune can be crap, but when you tune the car, it starts to go your way. So just learn what each setting does, get some
Yes.
guide stuff, tune the wheelbase and stuff. Like this is extremely powerful. It's almost like cheating. I've managed to get settings on these wheelbases that almost drive the car for you, and
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's bad. Like there are bad things that you can do to abuse them, obviously in competitions. I'm not gonna go this way on the negative side of things, but on what I know, but at least don't, why would you ditch, you've invested so much into this wheelbase, obviously it's not gonna be easy from the get-go. Like just like anything, you're out of the comfort zone, just try to push through, learn more.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think if you can learn how to drift with like a T300 or something similar, and then you go to a direct drive, it'll make life much easier as long as you set it up correctly. Like I tried a few of my friends' settings with their Sim Magic Alpha Mini thingies, and I hated them. They were horrible. Like, but I think there's a big difference because when I'm trying to set something up, I'm trying to set it up to mimic my real car. Whereas there's some people that haven't driven real life, and so they're just setting it up based on what they think real life is like. And so they've got like their wheel speed rotation turned up to 100%. And so the cars transition so fast, but that's not realistic. Like that would never happen in real life. So I don't want that. So like my wheel rotation speed is at like 35%, whereas some people run it 100% because that's just what they think is realistic drifting, or that's what they've been told to run. Um, and I've had this conversation with loads of people, and it's just how they perceive what drifting is, I guess, isn't it? That's just what they think it is.
Yeah, I don't want to go into this rabbit hole because I'll say things that, you know, people will definitely not be happy and come after me, and I don't mind them coming after me, but you know, I gave promise, and you know, there's a lot of things that we could dumb down and like lay some information, but it's not only gonna affect the bad guys, but it's only can cost sponsors to some good guys that, you know, if some things are learned that you can, there are certain things you can abuse. But what I don't understand is I had this conversation, bro. This is not realistic. Like somebody was trying to show me and prove me that, hey, this is my sim and this is how my, you know, I'm practicing with for my real car, and then like there's a comparison footage, and I'm like, bro, your sim does not look anything like your real car.
Yeah,
My footage with the TSXW was looking exactly like your real car, like crazy fighting with the wheel and stuff, like how it's set up. And you have direct drive wheelbase set up in this specific way, and you're telling me that you mimic this, bro, that you're not even catching the drift, you don't catch the wheel goes left, goes right, doesn't stop, it flies with crazy speed, and then you catch it, it's like there was a lot of things, but we're not gonna talk about this. This is the negative side, but yeah, I believe there is a certain truth to this. Now, excluding, you know, the bad ways, I'm pretty sure there are people, everybody, I agree that everybody perceives, I guess, drifting from their side, you know, their point of view, how they see things, like, oh, this is realistic, which I really don't agree, because there, it's like with the truth, there is only one truth and one fact. Like, how you know if your sim setup is realistic? Go and watch as many real drift, you know, povs. Watch James
yeah,
Dean POV, watch your, they can watch your POV. Obviously I'll link, I'll put, you know, links of your socials everywhere on the description, maybe even on the video itself to be shown. How do you feel about this whole interview? Like, what do,
yeah.
are there any
I think
questions that you think should have been asked? Any?
no, no, no. I think we've covered. pretty much everything. I've done a few interviews now for drifting, and I think this one's been one of the more enjoyable ones. Some of them feel very formal and very like this. Whereas I think this has been more of like an informal chat almost. Which yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's nice. It's good.
I started the same way, tried to be very formal. I'm like, who am I lying to? Like, this is not me. I can't. I just can't do it. Like, it's boring. I'd like to keep it like a interview, sort of like a discussion. Something that
Yeah,
there is a discussion going on and people can learn from it. But I really also wanted to let you mainly talk because you're the like people already probably heard what they need to hear from me. So like
yeah,
I'm not the interested person or the main guy in this place. So I wanted you to be the main part of it and people to hear from your side, your perspective. But if there is any question that you think was missed or a question that you deem is very good and has not been asked in a lot of places, I'm interested to hear what that question would be.
yeah. If I think about, I'll let you know.
Well, thank you very much again for showing, bro. And I'm gonna stop the recording. It means a lot that you spent 2 hours with me, even though my headphones died. My headphones died before we run into everything. And I told you we could probably go for an entire day, but obviously we have to go and do our own things. This means
Yes.
really a lot for me to know that I'm doing the right thing. You know, I'm not misleading people. I'm on the right way. And also, this was very knowledgeable, very valuable for me. And the fact that you spent 2 hours of your time to sit down, you know, kind of with me, even if you're driving, whatever, and we discussed all these topics. Really, it really helped me out. And I
Yeah,
hope
it's been
that
nice. I've enjoyed it.
I
I've
hope
enjoyed
that
it.
this video will help a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too. And like, I'm not. If anyone's got any questions, they can ask me in your Discord. Like, I'm not afraid to help, and I can always offer advice or whatever. So yeah,
I have a one final question for you. If people are very interested and I get a lot of questions and so on, would you like to hop on for another one? Like,
yeah.
but maybe a shorter one. So this time we just go through people's questions and like these big channels that invite celebrities, and we're just gonna go through and this person, this person says this, this person says that. Would you be willing to, you know, sit down again and cover some of the
Yeah, yeah,
questions if I get a lot of them?
yeah. 100%, mate. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlie. I will stop the recording now, and I hope to see you again and learn more about drifting.